Hi, my name is Kim Austin, and I'm Sourcewell's Project Manager for the AEP Award.
And I'm Jeremy Schwartz, Sourcewell's Chief Procurement Officer. Continuous improvement. It's an intentional thread weaving into the fabric of our Sourcewell culture. We commit to professional development, empower data-driven decisions in our procurement department, and regularly analyze our processes to identify opportunities for improvement.
Last year, our procurement team members logged hours of professional development through conferences, higher education classes, webinars, and LinkedIn Learning. While not all of those hours qualify for the AEP Award, we count every hour as critical to our continuing education. With the pandemic, more agencies find creative ways to use free professional development opportunities. You can find 4 guides on our Sourcewell website to help your organization, including contract administration, data analytics, strategic sourcing, and a cooperative purchasing decision guide. Our teams are currently crafting additional resources for future release.
We believe a well-informed team makes better decisions for our organization, and it pays to invest significant resources into professional development for our team members. Sourcewell's board members are committed to staff education because they see the results with effective, competitively awarded contracts, accessible to fellow public entities through our cooperative purchasing program.
The Sourcewell procurement team flipped the switch on our eProcurement system in 2019, which streamlined our processes and revealed improvement opportunities. We discovered the RFP process is now much easier, not only for our procurement staff, but also for our supplier community. We didn't miss a beat during the pandemic because of the established eProcurement system. We were also able to continue to solicit, evaluate, and award quality contracts for immediate use by our 50,000 participating agencies.
We recognize many of the improvements we've made have been revealed because of the public procurement spotlight used to complete the AEP application. I have no doubt this rigorous process will continue to be a catalyst for continuous improvement in procurement best practices.
Excellent. Thank you to Kim and Jeremy, and a big thank you to Sourcewell, our government education partner, again for providing us the opportunity to put on this AEP Educational Series. With that, I'm going to once again remind everybody, please put yourself on mute. If you have any questions, you can post those in chat, or we will provide opportunity for you to unmute yourself, ask the question, and we will answer those as we go through today. Following the presentation from Philip and Brandon, we will open it up to questions regarding the Criterion 7 or the new Criterion 7, or any other questions you have about the program or how to respond. So with that, again, thank you all for attending. Philip, Brandon, go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Brian. Welcome, everybody. As Brian mentioned, we're going to be covering Criterion 7 today. We've had several changes, or pretty dramatic changes, with this criterion. So Brandon and I have been the evaluators, or primary evaluators for Criterion 7 for the last few years. And so as you all know that have applied for it before, 7 is a big one, lots of information. And so as challenging as it is for you to pull this information together, it's equally as challenging for us to go through over 200 of them every year. And so as part of the evaluation, when we get together to look at the AEP award, we review the aspects to determine if the criteria are still best practices and the best aspects of public procurement. So we determined that we could consolidate Criteria 7 and add another aspect of it to better reflect best practices. And so if you'll recall, previously Criteria 7 had 8 sub-criterion, and they were numbered or lettered A through H. And so in looking at those, A through E have now been consolidated into A, and F and G now in B, and then H was one that had to do with auctions, electronic auctions, and that one has been dropped, and we've put in a new C section. And so what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and look at the application itself and walk through what that looks like. So here we are with the 2022 application, and let me scroll down to Criteria 7. Here we are. And so as I mentioned, A through E in the previous applications have now been consolidated into A. And so while each one of those 5 had 5 points associated with it, it's now been consolidated, and now 10 points is associated with this one. And as it states here, to meet the requirements of the criterion, entity must show evidence of electronic sourcing, which includes online vendor registration, automatic vendor notification, posting of the solicitation, and posting of the resulting solicitations, tabulations, and award documents. And so the submittal part of it is requiring first a narrative to kind of tell us about, okay, what your system is. Is it homegrown? Is it a third-party system? And then how a vendor would access that system. And then links to where the evaluators can confirm. How Brandon and I can then look at that system. So if you had some link associated with your uploaded document, then Brandon and I could click on that link and then go out to your system. And then the last part of the submittal is screenshots demonstrating the system's use or your entity process for online vendor registration and automated notifications, posting of solicitations and how vendors access those postings. And then finally, the postings of tabulations and the award documentation on how interested parties can view it. And each of those would need to be for solicitations and award notifications after January 1st, 2021. So you see it's a lot of information, but it's consolidated into, you're not having to put multiple criterion together and upload those things. It's consolidated into one of these criterion 7A. And then B, as I mentioned, used to be F and G, but is about your internal procurement process. And so this internal procurement process is how you submit a requisition and how you approve requisitions. And so essentially it's, how are your purchase requisitions? How are your requisitions generated? And then how are they approved? And then how are they converted to POs? And then finally, how does your system send out, electronically send out your PO? And again, after January 1st, 2021 is when your sample would have to be provided by. Brandon, did you have any additional information on these 2 criteria?
No, I think you covered it well.
Okay, great. So that's the 2 main parts. The third section, well, obviously they're all main, but the third section is new. It has to do with electronic evaluations and automated scorecard. And so by, again, looking at the landscape of public procurement now and procurement as a whole, we've identified that electronic evaluation tools have become a best case scenario for assisting us with our solicitations. And so part of that is you demonstrating as an entity, demonstrating how your internal customers evaluate your solicitations. Gone are the days of providing paper copies to each of any, or should be providing paper copies to each one of your internal customers, or in
Recording
our
in
case,
progress.
we still send electronic documents to our internal customers via email. But one of the newest aspects of sourcing is having your sourcing tool electronically send out documents to your internal customers for their electronic evaluation and then automatic upload of their evaluations into your solicitation tool. And so that's what we're looking for in section C. And so I'll just kind of go through it a little as it's written. To meet the requirements of this criterion, agencies must show evidence of an online centralized system that provides review and scoring of proposals, a notice of required evaluators and deadlines, digital scorecards that automatically calculate individual scores, provide for comments and notes, and provide a means to qualify and or rank the respondents. So it says here very plainly, spreadsheet-based scoring is not considered qualifying for this criterion. Now, if your system sends out a spreadsheet type evaluation tool for them to electronically evaluate to go back into the tool, that's acceptable, but just downloading, creating a spreadsheet, and then emailing that to your customers would not be considered successful in meeting this criterion. So in terms of submitting a narrative describing the system being used and how evaluations are completed, screenshots showing the application and distribution of the scorecard to evaluators and the process for reviewing and scoring the submissions, and also screenshots showing individual scorecards, notes, and the resulting consolidated scorecard. And once again, demonstrations of this would need to be for samples after January 1st, 2021. So that's essentially what we're looking for in the new Criterion 7 and its subcomponents. Brian, do you have anything to supplement with that?
Thanks, Philip, for going through that. I will say that we did have a question posted from Joanna. She asks, for posting of the solicitations, do we need to show how we issued a solicitation, meaning the step-by-step process, or just a screenshot of the posted solicitation? So she's referring to 7A, which is electronic sourcing, and that where we asked for a screenshot of the online posting of the solicitation and how vendors access. Joanna, I would say provide enough information to show how and where the solicitation is posted and how vendors can access that. So you don't necessarily need to show us the step-by-step process behind the scenes on everything that you do to get that solicitation posted. As long as we can see that it's posted online, it's available publicly, and vendors have access to your solicitation.
Perfect.
Hopefully that answers your question. And again, we'll open it up more. Next question, for automatic notifications, do we need to submit an actual email that a vendor received, or can I show a screenshot of the report of vendors notified? Great question. And my response on this, and Philip, you can follow up, but if you have a summary page that shows all the vendors are notified, that would be fantastic. You don't need to show the actual email that was sent out by the system.
Yeah, and that's typically what we've seen in the past is, and even if you're sending if you have a list of the notifications, sometimes your notifications are hundreds of vendors. And so just a sample of that, whether it be one page or a couple of pages of that list of vendors that it's going out to would be sufficient.
Excellent. Jennifer asks, on item C, the materials sent over a secure file system, not hard copies, would not qualify for this section. The evaluation must come through the eProcurement portal. That's correct. That's what we're shooting for here. And this is kind of new. I mean, there are systems out there that can do it, but again, the team likes to revise the application from time to time to make sure that we're supporting best practices. So Philip, if you'd like, I can share my screen and show you guys a sample of the system that we use, which we have the evaluation component in. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to share here. And so what you should be seeing now is meaning the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District, who I work for. This is our eProcurement portal, and we use Bonfire. Now, there's other systems out there that have evaluation components, but I just thought I would kind of show you how ours works, so you could see kind of what the committee is going for when it's looking for best practice in evaluations. Now, here's my project dashboard. And what I'm going to go do is I'm just going to go to a project that has been awarded and pull that up. And this was a study for an environmental clearance and a design study for a parking expansion at our Larkspur Ferry Terminal. It was done via an RFP. And, I won't go through everything, but I'll kind of show you the evaluation component. So the next place I'm going to here is the criteria, and the the criteria that we have were fairly common to RFPs: proposal, understanding, and quote and approach, qualifications and experience of the firm, and qualifications and experience of the team. I made a mistake. This was not an RFP. It was really an RFQ because it was a design study. So these are the criteria that we had a two-step or preliminary, and then we shortlisted for the final. But those are the criteria. And then we can go in and I can show you how it was scored. Now, because the project isn't currently under evaluation, I don't have access to go and show you how people go in and score, but the submissions are entered online, and then people can go into those documents and read them and provide a score just like you would on any other type of scoring. And what it shows here is we had 2 submittals, and it's showing the points for both phases on the submissions. And then we can also go in and take a look at the individual scores from the reviewers. Now, obviously, the individual scores we don't make public, but I have all of the access. And we can go through, we see that all of the reviewers that we had on this project, and I could go in and look at individual scores from these particular, for these particular responses in each of the evaluation criteria. And then most importantly, we have reports at the end that we can generate and provide to people who want to have a debrief. We also use this for our official postings and everything. But for example, I can download a scoring summary from here. And I'm actually going to, in order to show you the scoring summary, I'm going to need to stop sharing and share a different screen because it opened up in Word. So here you'll see a scoring summary based upon the 2 submissions. Let me expand that a little bit. And again, this is all generated in the system. So this isn't something that we have to put together on an Excel spreadsheet. It isn't something that we have to, enter the scores from a, we used to have people fill out paper score sheets and then we go into Excel and enter it. And but this is all generated in the system. And so we can use these again to do debriefings, or if people request copies of the score sheets, we use the summary without the evaluators' names associated to it. And again, this is all composed online within the system. So from start to finish, the vendors submit their documents online. The documents are evaluated online by our evaluation team, which now we don't have to get together in a meeting room. People can, we have people located in 3 different cities just within our organization. So we don't have to find a central place to sit and evaluate. They can do it online from their office or from home. And then all of that, the summary documentation that I showed you is generated out of the system. So that's the intent of that criteria. That's kind of where we're leaning. I want to go back to the chat here.
And Brian, just a comment. I think we can all see that the efficiencies gained from the procurement organization with automating that system and automating the tallying and all that is truly an efficiency that's gained. And our particular e-sourcing tool has the capability to do electronic evaluations. However, we still feel internally that the efficiency for our customer, we're able to provide an easier product for them to evaluate than the tool does. And so we stay with what we're doing. Now, the great thing about the AEP award is you have a possibility of 200 points. So if you don't qualify for it right now, then you don't qualify and you have the other 190 points that you can work on. But as you can tell with all the e-sourcing tools that are out there, they're starting to create these electronic sourcing, and it's not bleeding edge. They've been around for a while, but it's definitely a best practice in procurement environment.
Agreed, and thank you for that comment, Philip. And the comment regarding the availability of points goes to applies to all the criteria. As everybody on this phone call probably knows, there's 200 possible points, and you only need 100 points to be successful. And the reason that the program is designed that way is specifically because we understand that not everybody does everything, and not everybody does everything the same way. So even if you can't qualify in certain areas, there's other areas that we're sure that you can qualify. So don't fret if there's some things that you can't do. Just focus on those things that you can do, and then look for ways to improve in the future. A lot of people use the AEP program as a roadmap for future improvements to their policies, their procedures, their systems, and that's why we like to continuously update the application to make sure that we are truly representing best practices, and keeping up with technology is one of those. So I'm going to go back to the chat, see if there are any additional questions here. Again, feel free to put those in the chat. If you want to hop off mute and ask a question, feel free to do so as well.
I think the challenge now is going to be how do you have the conversation about, well, I scored 145 points last year, but I'm only going to get 135 points this year. Well, the challenge is updating these criterion and creating, to stay on top of your procurement, your procurement environment. And so you'll be challenged again to continue that improvement, continuous improvement.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions? We'll go ahead and open it up. We've got a lot of time left, so we'll go ahead and open it up to the questions on this particular criterion, or anything on the application that you'd like to discuss, from submission to how do you access the portal to payment. Anything that anybody would like to ask at this point, feel free.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, Monica. How are you?
Hold on, I need to make sure they're not talking to me.
I thought maybe Monica, did you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. No.
No. Not a problem. Well, if I'm going to take a couple minutes and go over some things that we routinely clarify to people. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to throw those in chat while I am doing this. I'm going to share my screen again. And this time I'm going to go back to the NPI website and walk through a couple of things here that we routinely get asked. And the first thing that people are sometimes confused on is when we talk about logging into the AEP application, make sure that you're logging in via this link here. I'm going to go back to the home page and show you. So we have two different logins. One is our member login. So if you are a National Procurement Institute member and want to access the member side of the portal, you would log in here under member login. If you want to access the AEP portal, you would go to Applications and Instructions, which is in the drop-down menu under AEP Award. And from there, click on AEP Application Login. You also see that you can download a PDF version of the application, the summary of revisions, and suggestions for uploading documents. But to access the portal, you would log in here, enter your credentials. My screen is going to look a little bit different than yours because I am an admin and an evaluator. So you would just have this blue tab, but that's how you access the portal. Now, also, if you would like to access prior year's scorecards, you log in here and then you click on the history link. And the history link will pull up all of your submissions since we went electronic, which I believe was in 2015 or 2016 was the first year. And you can click on that and access your scorecards from prior years. You can view the comments. You can download any of your submissions if you want to see what you submitted last time. And again, that's accessible under the history link. Now, I also get questions, well, what happens if the person that submitted our application in the past is not with the association anymore? Don't fret. If you create a new application, or excuse me, if you create a new AEP login ID and your email address is from the same domain. For example, my domain is @goldengate.org. So anybody that creates an AEP portal login with the @goldengate.org email address domain will be able to access your prior year's applications and your prior history. So if someone left your organization, they put the application for the last 10 years, again, don't fret, just create a new user ID under your email as long as it has the same domain.
Hey, Brian, we've got a couple of questions that came in.
Okay, excellent.
Lourdes asked, if the sources are through a login, is it best to have the screenshots available since one would have to log into the site? We use public purchase and that requires a login to see links. And I suspect this has to do with item 7A that deals with electronic sourcing and providing a link to be able to see the website. And I don't believe we're going to need a login in order to get into the system. I think just a link to the site showing that you have an electronic sourcing tool would be sufficient.
Yeah, I think, and it looks like Brandon provided an answer here, but yes, I would say
Okay.
if the evaluation team would need to log in to see anything, make sure that you provide screenshots.
Perfect. Sorry, Brandon, I didn't see your response.
Oh, you're okay.
Thank you for that. All right, just a couple more things that I'll go over. Again, common questions. I will say that one thing that's been new the last 2 years now is the payment. And so what's going to happen when you're done with your application and you're ready to submit, and you say, yes, I want to finalize. What's going to happen is you're going to go to this submit application page. And we've provided a link that's going to take you back to our payment section. And that payment section is going to look the same as this here. If you clicked on the application payment link, it goes to the same place. You're going to click on register yourself. You're going to put in your information, select what you want to pay for, enter your details as far as your payment options. Hopefully you can pay by credit card. And then once that happens, you're going to get a code. And with that code, you can go back to the page we just left, enter that code, and that will give you your discount. My hope is that everybody is an NPI member because you get a $200 discount on your AEP application. If you're not, make sure that you join National Procurement Institute before you submit your application. It's only $130 to join, and you get $200 off your application fee. So as you, all procurement people would know, it makes sense to do that. You also get the you can access the model submittals that we post every year. So anyways, that's kind of the payment process and the ability to get your discount for being an NPI member. I'm going to stop sharing and see if we have any more questions.
See any.
Doesn't look like we've had any more come in on the chat. Again, we can field any questions you like regarding Criterion 7, any of the other criteria, the application portal, login, scoring. Doesn't look like we have anything else coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and close the session down. We will stick around just for a couple more minutes in case anybody has some last minute questions, but don't need to keep everybody online. Again, thank you very much for your attendance. We do have, here's a question that came in. What's the date of the final application deadline? It's May 16th. Generally it's May 15th, but May 15th fell on a Sunday this year. So we moved it up to Monday, May 16th. If you are someone who likes to submit last minute, note that the time is going to be 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the 16th. So if you're up late and want to submit, you have until right before midnight on the 16th.
Hey, Brian, can you show folks how to get to the model submissions?
Absolutely. I will do that real quickly here. Let me share again. All right. I'm going to start at the NPI homepage. And again, as I mentioned, the model submittals are updated every year, but you do need to be an NPI member in order to access those. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but it only costs $130 and you get $200 off your application fee. But you go ahead and log in. I'll do that real quickly. Hopefully I typed my password correctly. And once logged in, you're now on the NPI members website. And if you go to the members only tab, you'll see the model submittals and a job board. But the AEP model submittals are here. And they are broken down by each criteria that is on the application. And we pick 5 or 6 for, even though we designate more as model submittals if they're really good, we generally pick 5 or 6 to showcase online. So if you need any help, you want to see how someone else does it, you have some questions, log into these model submittals and take a look at how other people do it. And a real remind everybody, like Philip said, we completely rewrote this criteria this year. So the model submittals for criteria 7 aren't going to look like the new criteria 7. So unfortunately, it may help you out some because some of the requirements are the same, but make sure that you realize that it's a little bit different. But we have those model submittals online for everybody to access here. And with that, again, I thank you. I'd like to remind everybody that you will, everybody that's in attendance will be getting a form to fill out for you do get 1 CEH credit for attending our session today. And so we'll be sending out that form within 24 to 48 hours. In addition, we recorded this series, so that will be posted to NPI's YouTube channel again within 24 to 48 hours. If you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, just go on YouTube and type in National Procurement Institute, and you'll be able to find this. If you want to watch it again or share it with a colleague, it is just see a couple more questions come in. It is a combo. Is 7A through D and 7B.
So it was essentially a combination of 7A through E, which is now Criterion A, and F and G are now Criterion B. Generally speaking, but be sure you go back and you look at the actual criterion, how they're listed now in order to follow, because there's nuances so you can't just simply take those and put them in. You need to actually follow the criterion, how it's laid out now.
Correct. And our hopes are that it's going to be a little bit easier for you to put together the submission, even though this year it's a little bit different. But hopefully in future years, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to submit and a little bit easier for us to evaluate. We recognize the time that it takes. So every year we try and do something a little that makes it a little easier for you, similar to what we have done on the education criteria, where we say, look, if you have a letter from your HR official that says, yes, these people indicated have their their diploma, then we don't need to see actual copies of the diploma because we know how long it takes to pull those together, scan them, enter them. Sometimes they can't be found. So, so again, if you see that in there this year, that's something that we added to hopefully make things easier for everybody in the submission process. All right, that wraps it up. Again, we thank you for attending our third part of the educational series. Our fourth and last part will be on a wrap up, any final questions, how to submit, go over the payment, review the payment process. So I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank Sourcewell, our government education partner, for allowing us to put this out to you free of charge. And again, I'll stick on for just a couple more minutes to see if anybody has any final questions. If not, have a fantastic day. Thank you, and we will see you all and talk soon. Bye-bye.